All right, everyone, Ian here with Scotch on the Rocks. We're out on the range today. There's two things we're going to have to contend with today, and that is the wind and people shooting in the background. So just go ahead and try and ignore those things while I talk here for a minute. So, in my previous video, I went over the basics of firearm safety, right? Always point your firearm in a safe direction. Never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Know what's beyond your target, and only point your firearm at anything, or do not point your firearm at anything you don't wish to destroy. So, there's another one that says, keep all firearms unloaded until you're ready to use it. I don't abide by that. So me personally, I don't have any kids. I don't have any worries about anybody coming in and messing around with my guns. Everybody that comes into my house or hangs around me is very familiar with firearms. So for home defense and, out on the street, things like that, I never have unloaded guns. So I always just, instead of having a firearm unloaded, I always just treat every firearm as if it were loaded, and that keeps, keep it in a safe direction and just make sure that we're paying attention to where the muzzle is and we're not pointing at anybody. So in the Army, we used to call it flagging. You would be flagging your buddy. It's a big deal. We don't do that. If you're carrying your rifle, you want to make sure you're not pointing it at anybody. Always making sure that it's pointed in a safe direction. So me personally, I don't necessarily agree with the keeping the firearm unloaded at all times, all that stuff. A firearm's loaded, and if you come into my house or you hang around my friends, all firearms are loaded because there's no use to us in an unloaded firearm. So one of the things I'm going to go over, because we're out of the range today, is I'm going to go over some of the basic fundamentals in firearms, right? So your breathing, your trigger press, your sight alignment, all that stuff, and I'm going to go over some different models of firearms as well. So there's the whole world out there, but I'm just going to show you the three basic ones that you'll probably end up running into at some point or another. Now, there are a couple things that I want to clear up. One, you may not like firearms. You may not even like the fact they exist. You may want them to disappear off the face of the planet. That's fine. However, at some point, there may come a time where you need to know these basic things. You need to know how to load a firearm. You need to know how to shoot a firearm. You need to know how to do basic maintenance on your firearm. So, with that, it doesn't matter whether you like them or you don't like them. We're here. The genie's out of the bottle. Firearms are a huge part of American society. There's no way around it, right? So, my thinking is it's just like a parachute. It's better to have and not need than need and not have. If you find yourself in a situation where you're like, man, I really wish I had a gun, it's already too late. So that, as far as me, everywhere I go, I'm carrying a firearm. Everything I do, I'm carrying a firearm. That's just the way it is, right? I've said it in my previous video, firearms are ingrained in who I am and what I do. But enough about that. I'm going to get to going on some of the different models we have of firearms. So, up first, we have a Glock 19, right? This is just like the not 99. There are also, like I said, there's all sorts of firearms out there, but this is your basic, your basic pistol, right? So every time you pull the trigger, a round is fired, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and unload this. Again, we're out on the range, so there's not really any unsafe direction. As you can see, I'm carrying my duty ammo. It's in my belt, or, I'm wearing my pistol belt because, again, I'm going to be out on the range today. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this firearm clear. So I'll go back in and reinstall this. First things first, we want to make sure we're pointing it in a safe direction. Drop the magazine, okay? That's number one. I've seen a lot of guys think that they dropped the magazine. They didn't drop the magazine, and what it resulted in is a round being chambered and then pulling the trigger and it not working correctly. So we're going to drop the mag. I'm not actually going to show you how to load this. I'm just going to show you how to unload this because apparently YouTube has issues with that. I don't know. But this is how we make a firearm clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our hand over the slide, taking care that the meat of our hand isn't in front of the muzzle. We're going to push back, and you can see the round dropped out. So we can make sure this firearm's clear again, right? So that's how you unload a firearm. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in my belt here, and I'm going to pick up this round. Now, for loading a firearm, it's the complete opposite. I can walk you through it. So you're going to take your magazine. You're going to make sure that the firearm, there's the typical 9 times out of 10. See, slide locks back. 9 times out of 10, the slide will be locked back And what you want to do is you want to take that magazine and you want to insert it in the butt of the firearm, or in the grip of the firearm. And you could either use depress, there's a lever on the side, or you can do the slingshot technique. You could pull it or push it forward, pull the slide back, and the slide will release and go forward, chambering around. The other way that you could do it is the two paddles, or it depends on the firearm, but there's different paddles, different systems for each one. So there'll be a paddle on the left or the right side of the slide, or both. You're going to depress that lever, the slide's going to go forward, and that firearm is ready to use. Next up, we have AR. We have ARs. This is a very, very, very common firearm found throughout the United States. It's even found, I mean, in my experience, it's even found in third world countries. You know, due to different geopolitical things going on. Hold on one sec. Okay, so had to check my text messages there. So this is an AR-15. You're going to end up finding this. This is probably the most prolific firearm in the United States of America right now. So there's a great debate between ARs and AKs. You can't go wrong with either one. But this is the platform which I have the most experience. I started training with this when I was 16 in the United States Army, and ever since then I have, you know, made sure that I use it and I abuse it. And this is one of my favorites. This is a BCM Gunfighter. Again, not sponsored by anybody. But what I'm running here is I am running a SIG red dot right here and a Juliet 5x magnifier. So I'm a huge proponent of red dots. I used red dots in the military, thought they were great, super easy. All you gotta do is put the red dot on the target and make sure, you know, depress the trigger and you're good to go. But after doing some research, I found out that it would probably be better to get a magnifier on here as well. The reason I did that is because target identification. You can see out to 300 yards with this, no problem, but you don't know if that person's armed, if they're a threat, if they're just walking. That's what the magnifier's for. We want to make sure that we have positive target identification, again, every single time. So, in order to unload, and then I'm also running a TRL-1 on it. A lot of guys run Surefires. Hey man, I like Surefire just as much as I like TRL-1s, or just as much as I like Streamlight, but Streamlight's a lot cheaper. It's kind of, you know, budgetary concerns. Despite popular belief, I am not rolling in the money. So what we're going to do with this firearm is, again, we're going to go ahead and depress the trigger, or do not depress the trigger. Depress the magazine. There's a button on the side for the magazine. We depress that. Mag will fall straight out. Okay, the mag is out. Now what we're going to do is there's another button on this side, right? You can see it right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that button and we're going to depress it while we're pulling the charging handle back. So we're going to pull the charging handle back. You can see a round ejected. Now, this firearm is also clear. All right. So the third firearm that we have, and I didn't bring any revolvers. That'll be one for another video. Again, I'm out here qualifying today. I'm out here getting guys through. So we're doing pistol, rifle, shotgun. Revolvers didn't really come into play. They are still extremely viable. I still carry a Smith & Wesson Airweight and 38 Special. Sometimes if I'm just running around. Again, they are a very viable gun. I don't have anything against revolvers. It's just, again, we're out on the range and we're training today. So it's kind of a different scenario. Lastly, we have the Mossberg 500. So there are the Mossberg 500 and the Remington 870 are the two most prolific shotguns you're going to have in the United States. So for the Remington 870 and the Mossberg 500, the clearing is almost exactly the same. There's just one little difference. And that one little difference is why I chose Mossberg over Remington. With Remington, I'll show you here. Actually, first things first, we're going to make this clear. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull this forward. We're going to make sure that the slide is forward. There's a little bit of a detent inside of here. We're going to go ahead. We're going to push it. We're going to pull the rounds out. It almost looks like a hook. We're going to take these rounds out. We'll just go ahead and drop them on the ground. Okay, so I can look. Oh, we got one more. So if you look, you can see there are no rounds in it. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to depress this little button right here on the left-hand side of the firearm. So right here, we're going to push that. We're going to jack that last round out. Okay, so as you can see, there are no rounds in this firearm right now. So The difference between the Mossberg 500 and the Remington 870 is with the 870, this feed ramp right here is down all the time. That doesn't work for me. I don't like having to shove my thumb in here and get my thumb stuck in between the feed ramp and my thumb. So that was why I decided to go with a Mossberg 500 instead. Just because it doesn't have it, it's easier to get in and out and manipulate the tube and the magazine and everything like that. So all these firearms have been cleared. There's no ammunition in any of them. But again, still, we're at the range, so we want to make sure that we're keeping every firearm in a safe direction. So next up, I'm going to show you the basics of firearms fundamentals, breathing pattern, trigger press, stance, and all things like that. All right, so as you can see, we are like 2 feet away from that target right there. But I want to demonstrate a couple of things. So when we're firing, I'm going to try and do this so that everybody can see it, okay? You'll probably be able to see that red dot, maybe not. We'll see how it comes up on camera. But we want to make sure, looking through the red dot here, what we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on our front sight post. So we want to make sure that we have our front sight post on the target. Now, I know what it looks like. I know it's going to look like the front sight post is way bigger than the target, but that's not how it is. I once had a firearms instructor tell me, okay, stick your thumb out. So I stuck my thumb out. He goes, which one's bigger, your thumb or the target? And I said, well, of course it's my thumb. He's like, is it though? Look how much the difference is between your thumb and the target, right? So what you're doing is you're putting this little piece right here, this little front sight, on this target. Your front sight is way smaller than any target you're gonna be shooting at, especially 25 yards and under. So I'm gonna go back here. So I'm trying to do this. Okay, there we go. So we want to make sure that our front sight post is on the target. And we want to squeeze the trigger. We want to squeeze it. We want to make sure that we're not jerking it. We're not jerking it. It's just press, 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 bang. So again, firearms unloaded. I have my training mags here. So I'll show you correctly how it's done. So we want to press, 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 and click, right? We don't want to be doing this. So jerk, 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 jerk. You can see how that goes forward. Okay? We're going to see forward. So we want to press it. Press, 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 press. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can test this. So, what you can do is you could put a penny or something like that on here, and when you pull the trigger, the penny shouldn't move, or the dime shouldn't move. So it should just be gentle, 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 and it shouldn't move whatsoever. The other thing that you can do is if you have a red dot on your pistol like I do, you can look through the red dot. You can look through the red dot. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And you could see if that red dot doesn't jerk forward or like this, that was a good trigger press. So now I'm going to focus on breathing. So I want to make sure at least you can see all of this here. Move this back. Perfect. All right. So with breathing, we want to make sure, because humans, we have a different breath cycle. All humans have a different breath cycle, but it's in, hold it, and out. So when you're shooting firearms, you want to make sure that you're doing it at the natural pause in between breaths. So you breathe in, and then you breathe out. Right there, that would be the natural pause. So you want to make sure you're trying to take your shot at that natural pause. So it would look like this. It would be like that. Now, again, when people are shooting, when you're running and gunning and doing all that stuff, it's going to look more like at the bottom of the breath pattern. We want to make sure that we're taking our shot here, because again, when you're breathing, your pistol's doing this, or your rifle, or your shotgun, whatever it is, it's not staying straight. The front sight will not be on the target. You want to make sure that while you're at that natural pause, you have your front sight. Again, we're focusing on the front sight, not on the target. We want to keep in mind the target is still there. We want to make sure that we're, again, using our front sight. We want to make sure that that's right where it should be. We want to make sure that, again, there's a lot of stuff we got to keep in mind, right? When we're shooting and we're talking about real world scenarios, we want to make sure that that whatever we're shooting at is still a threat. If we need to continue to pull the trigger, we need to continue to pull the trigger. But again, we want to make sure we're stopping the threat. That's what this is all about, stopping the threat. There's no such thing as shoot to kill. It's always shoot to stop the threat. Anyway, so next thing we're going to go over is stance. So I do kind of a belated stance. It's kind of, it's going to take time for you to figure it out for yourself. But I prefer a little bit of a bladed stance. So what I'll do is I'll have my left foot back just a little bit. I'll have my right foot forward because I'm left-hand dominant. What I'm going to do is try and keep the front of our body in line with the target. And the reason we do that is if we're wearing body armor, that's a way better, you want to make sure you're getting hit in the armor, not hitting the sides. Now back in the day, a lot of guys that I've talked to served in the military back in the day, they had people shoot just like this, right? Having the side of their body towards the target because it makes a smaller target. It's not as hard, it's not as easy for the person to hit it. So, but nowadays, if you're wearing armor, you want to make sure that chest is directly to the target, because if we're going to take rounds, we want to take them in the plates, obviously. So mine's just a little bit back. What I'll do is I'll lean forward, bring my arms up, just so I can see the front sight, the front sight, or the red dot, whatever it is I'm shooting. I want to lean forward, right? We want to make sure we have a good base, our knees are bent just a little bit, and we're solid, planted into the ground. We want to bend down just a little bit, and again, solid base, solid base, solid base. So we want to make sure that our arms are locked out, our shoulders are rolled forward, and our head is tucked just a little tiny bit. So it's, like I said, it creates a more of a solid base. What I'd like to be able to show you, but I can't, there's just no way, even with the camera, is the difference. So if you're holding it like this, you can see, I mean, my arms are back a little bit, I'm kind of going back a little bit. That dot is just dancing. It's just going every which way. But as soon as I punch forward, that dot stops. It's just solid. It doesn't want to move as much. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're pointing our thumbs to the target. Now this is a Glock. Glocks have a different angle, hand grip angle than other firearms, right? So with the 1911, it's going to be different than a Glock. But I use this hold for everything. A pistol, right? The only thing I don't use it for is revolvers. Revolvers are a little bit different. They're their own kind of breed of I guess holding would be the correct term, because you got to worry about gas coming out the side of the cylinder. But what we're going to do, we're going to take our dominant hand, we're going to wrap it around, and we're going to have our finger up against the slide. This is called indexing. We want to make sure that we're indexing when we're not ready to shoot. We're going to take our other hand, we're going to bring it up on the other side, wrap it around, so that the meaty part of our hand right here is right up against the grip here. And then we're going to have both thumbs overlapping, and both thumbs are going to be pointing towards the target as well. We want about, let's see here, 60% of our grip to come from this hand. We want to make sure, we got a good firm grip on it, but we don't want to have a death grip on it. Then with this hand, we're going to pull back in a little bit, so we're going to lock it in. So we'll get up a little bit close here so everybody can see it. So it's going to look just like this, okay? And that's going to be it's going to be a pretty solid platform for us to use. Again, feet planted, rolled forward, head tucked just a little bit. We want about 60% and 40%. So 60% on the dominant hand and 40% on the non-dominant hand. Squeeze, 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 and just like that. Now, when you're shooting, the explosion or the round going off should surprise you. You don't want to anticipate. And even I'm guilty of it, right? So I'm like, okay, we're gonna squeeze. Okay, when's it gonna go off? I think it's gonna go off right about here. That makes me push the firearm down, right? That's called anticipating recoil. So what we're doing is it's a natural response to an explosion going off in your face, right? You don't want the explosion to go off in your face. So you are trying to make it happen when you want it to happen, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And the reason that we're doing that is because your lizard brain is like, hey man, explosion right in front. You know, we want to. Nobody's used to having explosions happen to them right in front of their face, right? I don't care what anybody says. That's not a natural human thing to happen. So what'll end up happening is people will again try and game it. They'll try and game the explosion, right? But that's how you end up throwing rounds down. The other thing is, so with anticipation, you're going to be looking at your target and you're going to see that all the rounds are going to be low, right? Are going to be low because what you're doing is it's an exaggerated response. So you're throwing that firearm down right as it's going off, and that's going to throw the bullet off where it's supposed to be. So squeeze. Oh, when's it going to go off? I don't know. When's it going to go? Bang. That's what you're looking for. Now, that's anticipation. With trigger jerking, so if it's going to be different for me than it is for you, it's actually going to be the complete opposite. So for me, jerking the trigger, the rounds are going to go low left, okay? So that's doing like this. So it's going to pull it down and over. I'll show you guys here. So we're going to jerk the trigger. So it's going to go like that, right? It's going to go low left. For you, it would be low right. So that's the other thing we want to make sure we're doing. Again, trigger press, trigger squeeze, not trigger jerk, okay? So you're going to take up the slack, you're going to take up the slack, you're going to take up the slack. You're going to feel the wall, you're going to feel the wall, you're going to feel the wall, press through it, bang, okay? That's what we're looking for. Glocks especially have a wall that you can feel, right? With a 1911 or, some of those other single action firearms. So would be considered it's a safe action trigger. I'm not going to get into all the details about it, but I will say that the trigger pull on my Glock is way worse compared to the trigger pull on my 1911. And the reason that is because the 1911 is a single action, right? So when you pull that hammer back, there is not very much play in between you and the trigger overriding the sear and the hammer falling. I mean, it feels like triggers on a Glock feel like breaking a carrot, and triggers on a 1911 feel like breaking glass. It's just gummy, bang. Okay, cool. With the 1911, it's like, okay, pull. There's no take up or anything like that. The hammer just falls. So I'm going to pause it right here. I'll come back and get my rifle. I am back with rifle in hand. Okay, so it's going to be the same basic principles for a rifle as it is for a pistol. We want to make sure we have a good base, we have a good breathing pattern, we have a good trigger squeeze. So again, this is unloaded. I'm going to let the bolt go forward. Okay, so for rifles especially, you're going to see that my stance is a little bit more pronounced in the rifle than it is with the pistol. So with the rifle, again, I'm going to have my dominant foot back just a little bit. I have my non-dominant forward a little bit. We're going to push forward, right? We're going to lean forward at the hips. We're going to lean forward with the chest. We're going to keep everything tight to our body, right? We want to make sure that we have a super tight platform. So this is actually a little bit difficult because I'm looking 5x at something that's about 20 feet away, and that's making it difficult. So we're going to lean forward. We're going to look for that red dot, okay, or whatever sights we're using. So I also have flip-up sights for my backup irons, right? So you can see right there and right there, backup irons. So we're going to lean forward. We're going to keep this arm down. We want to make sure that we're not chicken winging it. We want to keep the arm down, right? We want to pull it into our body, right? We want the most stable platform that we can have. So we're going to, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. Again, I'm just giving you advice as to how I do it. My way may be different than your way. I see all sorts of cool guy tactical grips, it's like this is the new greatest best thing, and after a while, we'll go and we'll like C-clamp it like this, and we'll bring it over like that, and okay, that's fine and everything, but there's a whole bunch that you're missing, with that fat part of your hand. You can't see your front sight, and ultimately what will end up happening is you'll see guys doing this, and then as time goes on, as they're shooting, their hand will come down and it'll bring it in. It's just like we started with to begin with, or just the stance that we started with. So again, arm down, don't chicken wing it. For me, because I'm a shorter guy, I usually hold the front right about here, right about mid-length, right? A little bit forward maybe, but right about mid-length is perfect for me. We're going to make sure that we have the stock in the small of our hand, so right here. make sure we're talking about the 60-40 rule. So we're gonna have 60% of our pressure on the well, actually for this it'd even be a little bit different. So I'd say for this it's probably 40-60. So we're gonna have 40% of our grip strength and locking it into our shoulder coming from here, and the other 60% from your non-dominant. So we're gonna pull it in tight. We're gonna, so I'm not gonna go over, well, I guess I will. Forget it. YouTube, it is what it is. So on the AR-15, you're gonna see that there is a selector switch, right? So in order to make this firearm fire, we need to make sure that we're depressing this switch, right? I don't have auto. This isn't a department issue. This is my personal firearm and I don't have auto. But if you do have an auto, good for you. You already know the game, and this video probably isn't for you. But I want to rotate the selector switch from safe to semi, okay? That's how we take this firearm off safe. We're gonna, again, 40-60. So 60% is pulling back towards me, 40% is holding. Go ahead and squeeze. Bang. What I saw, and you probably didn't, is that reticle, or the red dot, did not move one bit. There was no movement in whatsoever. That's what we're looking for. Now, again, 40-60, into the small of our shoulder. Hold it tight, squeeze, and bang, right? That's what we're looking for. Now, with recoil, the red dot is gonna go all different spots, right? But if we're just practicing at home and we're doing dry fire, we wanna make sure that red dot isn't going anywhere. It's staying put. We're not doing anything. Now, that was standing. That's how I do a standing. So again, my lead foot back, non-dominant foot just a little bit forward, bring it in tight, hold it tight, bang. Okay, now for my favorite. We're gonna go to kneeling. So, when I was in the infantry, one of my instructors said that kneeling is going to be your bread and butter, right? Kneeling is the bread and butter, and prone is the meat and potatoes. Now, I had very few times, oh look at that, it's starting to rain. There were very few times where I ended up prone with a rifle. Now, standing a lot, I ended up, putting it over the top of Humvees or whatever the case may be. But prone didn't really work for me. It wasn't, I had all that gear on, I had all this and that, and you'll see the same thing with police. We train prone, which is awesome. I don't have anything against training prone. It's a great thing. But in actuality, I think that for me, things have to be pretty rough for me to go. But kneeling is my favorite. Kneeling is my absolute favorite position of all time. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our dominant leg down. We're going to keep our non-dominant leg. And again, keep our non-dominant leg up. What I like to do is I like to lean back on it just a little bit, right? So we have kind of an L shape going on. I like having, I don't even know if you can see this. I hope you can see it. Let's see. I'll put my rifle down and see if you can see what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. No, maybe you can't. All right, so we're gonna move forward just a little bit. All right. So, forward just a little bit. Take our dominant leg, bring it down. We're gonna bring it into like kind of an L shape, and then we're gonna sit on top of it, right? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we have the meaty part of our elbow, so the back of our elbow, I guess it's the bicep. Tricep. It's a tricep. So we're going to have the tricep on the knee, and the elbow is going to be just forward. This creates a really stable platform. If we put our elbow on top of the knee, you can see it moves around, but if we put it like this, it's super solid. So, again, same fundamentals, right? 40% on this hand, the dominant hand, and 60% on this hand, the non-dominant hand. So, I'm going to go like this, again. Do a practice shot. Squeeze. Bang. Okay? Now, for prone. Again, like I said, it depends on the circumstances dictate. But for prone, what we want to do is we're going to have our dominant leg, our dominant hand, our dominant side straight out. Okay? Because we're going to go ahead and absorb that recoil. And the way the recoil works is in a straight line. We want to make sure we have as much of a straight line as we possibly can. We're going to put both of our elbows down on the ground. Again, nothing changes as far as how we hold the firearm, right? We're going to do it. But you can see that I'm actually just a little bit, right? My hand here is on the magazine well, not forward in the C-clamp. That's just what's comfortable for me. So we want to make sure that we have a stable form, make sure our breathing is correct. Now, what we want to do, we want to hold we want to make sure that our front sight is resting naturally on our target, okay? So we're going to go ahead and shoot our target. Okay, we're going to line it up. And then, if we want to make sure we're as stable as we possibly can be, we're going to look away. We're going to come back, and sure enough, it's still on the target. We want to make sure that we want to make sure that we're pointed in a direction where no matter what, we're going to be on the target. And it doesn't matter where our head is, it's where the rest of our body is. So, forward, just like that, and we are good to go. Take a practice shot with it, just like that. Squeeze, 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 bang. That red dot did not move one bit, which is awesome. Getting old these days. So, last thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the shotgun, and then I'm going to wrap up with my thoughts. All right, our last firearm for the lineup for today. This, again, Mossberg 500. This is a pump action shotgun. There are many, many, many different shotguns out there. You have break actions, you have bolt actions, you have semi-automatic, you have single action. The list goes on, right? There are so many different firearms out there. Again, I would venture to say, now again, I'm no expert, I venture to say that pump action shotgun is pretty relatively easy to find. Everybody I know owns pump actions, so we're just going to go over the basics for today, right? So we're not going to show loading it, but I'm going to show you the same thing. It's going to be the exact same thing: prone, standing, or I'm sorry, kneeling and standing. So for standing, it's going to be the exact same position. Our dominant foot back, our non-dominant foot forward. But with this, the difference is we're going to lean really, really, really far forward. As far forward as we possibly can with it still being comfortable. Now, the reason we're going to do that is because shotguns have way more recoil than any of the other firearms that I showed you. So, the recoil with this, I don't know what the pound-wise is, but I know that for a 308, it's 18 pounds. There's 18 pounds of felt recoil. With a shotgun, I'm going to say it's more. I don't know exactly how much more it is, but it is definitely more. So we're going to make sure we have that exaggerated forward stance, okay? So forward, we're going to punch it forward, we're going to punch it forward. Make sure the firearm's off safe, which it is. And again, I already cleared this, but we'll clear it again, okay? Lean forward, lean forward, lean forward. Squeeze, 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 bang, okay? We're going to rack it forward again, bang, okay? Now, same thing with kneeling. We're going to make sure we go down, lead foot back. We're going to go ahead and make it to an L shape. Pull forward. Now with the pump action shotgun, it's a little more difficult because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to break stance every single time in order to manipulate the pump on this. So what we're going to do is forward, 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 bang, break stance, bring this forward, rack it back, push it forward, same thing, bang, break stance, and forward. It's going to be the same thing with when we're prone. You're going to end up having to break your stance to manipulate everything. So we're going to go prone. Again, lead foot forward, lead foot back, dominant foot back, prone, prone, prone. Now, with prone for a shotgun, what I end up having to do is I end up having to take my hand completely off the pump. So it's just, I'm holding it, bang, rock forward, all the way forward, rack it backward, and forward. And now, out of all the firearms that I demonstrated, shooting prone with a shotgun is my least favorite just because of that. Because every single time I have to break my stance, I have to break my concentration, everything in order to be able to manipulate the pump. So, I feel like I've given out a lot of information on this week's video. Again, if you guys have stuff that you want to see, let me know. But real quick, before we go, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up.
Orange start. Green target. Oh, now you got a double feed. How do you do this? Take your time, think about it. Don't shoot yourself. Nice. Good. Excellent. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Nice.
Orange?
Red.
Red.
Orange. Red. White. Nice. Good. The man on top, very highest guy. The other guy. Good job. Take your time. Yeah, just throw it away. Round's no good. Good, 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 good. Smart. Smart move. Man on the bottom. Lady on top.
She's unarmed.
It's okay. Lady on bottom. It's a workout.
It is. Lady on bottom.
Lady on bottom. Gong. White gong. White gong. Good. White gong. Do it again. Handgun, red gong.
I'm out of ammo for my handgun.
Got it. Okay. Take a break.
I never more.
Number 2, orange gong, handgun. One more. Number 3, handgun, the prone guy out on the berm. Number 5, red handgun. Red gong. Sorry, number 5. Number 6, the AR target, the guy on the top right. Watch the stairs, they might be slippery.
AR target, which one?
Top right guy.
Top right guy.
Nice. Number 7. Old number 7, the orange gong. Number 8, green gong. Number 3. Handgun, number 3. And number 9, rather, I'm sorry. We go with number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Okay.
White gong.
White gong.
To your right. Number 10. The guy on the bottom left.
Pistol or rifle?
Our left.
Pistol or rifle?
Number 10.
Sorry. Pistol or rifle?
AR.
AR.
Number 11, handgun. You got Eddie bullets left. Orange gong, number 11.
It's up way too much. Nope.
Out.
Out.
Number 2, handgun, red gong. Number 4, orange gong, handgun. Stay behind the red line. No cheating. Nice job. Number 6, AR, white. AR, number 6. Getting the fire. Shoot. Number 5, the guy in the right-hand corner on the target. And he's trying to hide.
Upper or lower? Or never mind, I got it.
Upper, right. Got it. The guy in the white t-shirt, he's got his back to you, dark hair, through number 2 with your AR.
2.
Number 1, red gong, handgun. Nice. Number 1, AR, white gong. Number 2, white gong, AR. Number 4, AR, white gong. Good. Good.